Hello and welcome back to Little Gems Crochet Co. Today I'm going to show you how to make these baby dungarees sized 0 to 3 months. You don't have to alternate colours if you don't want to, you can use one colour continuously throughout. The yarn I am using for this project is the DMC 100% baby cotton in the colours denim blue and beige. You will need a 3.5mm hook for this project and you will also need some crochet markers, some scissors and a tapestry needle. First of all, we're going to start by making a slip knot. If you're unsure on how to do this, there is a more detailed video on my YouTube channel. Now your slip knot is on your hook and ready to go, we need to chain 30. And this will be the top of the front panel of your dungarees. There's the first chain, second chain, third chain. Continue to chain like this and I will meet you at the end of the row once you've completed all 30. And your chain should look something like this. Now onto row number 2. Now we're going to half double crochet back down this row. So you'll need to yarn over and go into the second chain from the hook. So there's the yarn over and the second chain from the hook. Yarn over, pull through, and yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. Again, if you're unsure on how to do this stitch, I have a full demonstration over on my YouTube channel. And we will continue this half double crochet all the way down this chain and I will meet you at the end of the row. Once you get to the end of the row, ensure you always get that very first chain, as I find that so easy to miss. And this is what your project should start to look like now your first and second rows are complete. Now to start row 3, you need to chain 2 and then turn your work. This time we're not skipping any chains, we're going straight into that first stitch from the previous row with our half double crochet and double crocheting down this line. This will be repeated for rows 4 and 5, so I will meet you back at the end of row 5. Once you've completed all 5 rows, your project should start to look like this. You've got a nice rectangle at the top, which is where we'll be sewing the buttons later on. Row 6 is where we're going to swap to our other coloured yarn if you are alternating colours like me. To change the yarn, we are going to hook on the new colour yarn, pull through as if it's a chain, get that tail a bit shorter because we want to weave it in and we don't want it too long. And then we're going to do a single chain with the new piece of yarn holding the previous tails in place so your yarn doesn't pull out, like so. And then turn your work. Now putting the tail over the previous row so it goes in when you're doing your work, we're going to do a half double crochet into that first stitch. And as you can see, I'm keeping that yarn over the previous row so as we go over it, it will work its way in. And also in this row, we're going to start expanding the rows so we get that nice shape. So we're going to do another half double crochet in that same stitch. Then continue down the row by doing a single half double crochet into every stitch. However, when we get to the end of this row, we will be doing 2 half double crochets into the final stitch. Here we are at the end of row 6, and that's our first half double crochet into the end stitch and our second half double crochet into the final stitch. Don't forget at this point you'll need to cut away from your original coloured yarn, but don't forget to leave a tail long enough that you can weave it in later on. Now for round 7 we're going to start as before and chain 2 and then turn our work. And like the previous round, we're going to do 2 half double crochets into that first stitch. 1, 2, and then we're going to do a single half double crochet into the rest of the row until we get to the end, and we're going to do 2 more half double crochets into the end stitch. Repeat this pattern for rows 8 to 13. Don't forget, if you're alternating colours like I am, you'll need to change the colour every 2 rows, using the same method we did on row 6. And I will meet you at the end of row 13. And this is what your project should look like at the end of row 13. As you can see, we've now got the rectangle at the top with the sides now going out, which is the width of the body. And now we're just going to start working straight down the body. So like previously, if you are changing colour, this is a row where we will be changing colour like so. If not, you'll just be doing your 2 chains and turning your work as before. Now, like we did on row 3, we will just be doing a single half double crochet into every stitch of the round. We will not be doing 2 double half crochets into any stitches because now we are keeping the size of the project the same and just working our way down. So for rows 14 to 53, we will just be half double crocheting along the row, chaining 2, turning our work, and half double crocheting back along the row. Again, don't forget to change colour every 2 rows if that is what you are doing, and I will meet you at the end of row 53. And this is what your project should now look like at the end of row 53. As you can see at the bottom of the project, I have now put a crochet marker. This is because we are now going to work on the leg section, and this will indicate where the middle of the project is. We're going to start this row exactly the same as we have on previous rows, either doing our 2 chains and our turning or changing the colour yarn if that's the row we're on. And then continuing with our half double crochet into every stitch, only up until the crochet marker in the centre of your work. So I will meet you at the end of this row. Make sure you include a half double crochet into the stitch where the marker is, as we don't want to have a gap in the middle. For row 2 of the leg, just like before, we're going to do our chain 2, turn our work, and then half double crochet back down that row. We will also be doing this for row 3 of the leg. Come back and join me when you have 2 stitches left at the end of row 3, as we'll be ending that row slightly differently. Now that you've got 2 stitches left on the end of row 3, we're going to half double crochet 2 stitches together. So to do this, you yarn over as normal and insert through the first stitch and pull through. And instead of yarning over and going through all the loops, we're yarning over and going through the second stitch to then yarn over and pull back through. So you should have 4 loops on your hook now, and then we yarn over and pull through to give the legs a bit more shape. Then for row 4, we continue as normal by chaining 2, turning our work, and half double crocheting back along the row. And I will meet you at the end of this row. Now you've completed the first 4 leg rows, you can see the legs got a slightly more tapered shape. For rows 5 and 6, copy the steps you used for rows 3 and 4, and I will meet you at the end of row 6. Now for rows 7 to 20, we're not going to taper the leg in anymore, we're going to take it straight down. So we're going to go back to chaining 2, half double crocheting across the row, and then chaining 2 and turning the work. And I will meet you at the end of row 20. Once you've finished all 20 rows, the leg should look like this. Now what you need to do is repeat those steps on the other side so you've got both legs completed. And I will meet you back here once you have completed the second leg. Now that you've completed both legs, it's a good time to weave in those ends if you haven't been doing it as we've been going along. There's not necessarily a right or wrong method, just make sure you've weaved in a good amount of the yarn before cutting it off to enable it to hold its place. Now using warm water, we want to soak this front panel so we can block it while we're working on the second panel. Make sure you don't leave it in the water too long and lay it flat to dry in the shape you want it to dry in. Now repeat all these steps to create the second panel. And once you have both panels completed and blocked, we'll look at joining them together. To join them together, we're going to do a slip stitch around the edge. This may be obvious, but don't go around every single edge because the baby's going to need to get in and out of the dungaree. So ensuring the panels are lined up, starting at the widest part at the top, insert your hook essentially on that corner and get your yarn and pull it through, leaving a long tail. Then you need to insert your hook into every row and do a slip stitch all the way down the side. This will ensure your panels stay nice and tight together. It may be more difficult on some rows to insert the hook, but make sure you try and get a stitch into every single row down the side. Once you have done slip stitches down both long sides and the inside the legs, leaving the bottom of the legs open and the top of the dungarees open, I will meet you at the end. Once you have gone around the edges, turn your project inside out so all the seams are now on the inside and the outside has got a very seamless look. Once you have done this, we now need to look at sewing the buttons onto the top. I did this on a sewing machine, however you can do this by hand. I just found it a lot quicker on the sewing machine. Once the buttons are on, it's then onto the straps. Start by inserting your hook into the top corner of the dungarees like so, taking your yarn, wrapping it around your hook and pull through. Then we're going to chain 1, and then we're going to do 5 single crochets at the top of the dungarees, making sure that you weave in that tail end of yarn to hold it in place. As first single crochet, second, third, fourth and fifth. Then we want to chain 1 and turn our work. Now we're going to single crochet back along there again, so 5 single crochets, chain 1 and then turn your work. We want to repeat this 24 times, so you've done 25 rows in total. Continue following this pattern and I will meet you at the end of the 25th row. Now your strap should look like this. So the next thing to do is the buttonhole. So we need to chain 5, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then turn our work. Then single crochet back down the small chain you've just created. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. And now once you reach the bottom, what we're going to do is slip stitch into the stitch right underneath the chain you've just created to anchor it into place, and now we're going to slip stitch into the next stitch along. Now turn your work and do another row of single crochet back up that small row we've just created, but crocheting through the back loops only, and I will meet you at the end of the row. This time, once you've reached the end of the row, we're going to chain 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Turn your work, and then what we're going to do is slip stitch into the bottom next to the row we've just created, and this will be where the buttonhole is. And then after that we want to do another slip stitch in the stitch next to the slip stitch we've just created. Then, like before, we're going to single crochet back loop only up the row we've just created, chain 1, turn our work and crochet back down again. Then a slip stitch underneath the row, a slip stitch in the next stitch along, and then single crochet back up that row, and I will meet you at the end of that row. Now, to give the end of the strap a nice rounded finish, what we're going to do is do 7 double crochets into the middle of the strap. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And as you can see at the top there, it's already getting a more rounded shape. and finally 7. Then you need to do a slip stitch into the strap at the closest end where you've finished your double crochets. Then do a slip stitch all down the side where we have created that buttonhole. So 4 slip stitches in total. And this is what the finished strap should look like. Now sew in the ends and repeat these steps on the other side so you have both straps completed. Double check that your buttons fit through the buttonholes that you've just created, and there you have it. You've created your first set of baby dungarees aged 0 to 3 months. I hope you found this video helpful. Please let me know if you do create these dungarees on here or any of my other social media channels. Also, please don't forget to like and subscribe.